Hi guys, it is a beautiful, very cold day today, and I'm inviting you to join me here on my front porch. 2 days ago, it was 2 days ago now, I went for a walk with my camera and I took some pictures and I really enjoyed it. So today I want to share with you how I captured my pictures, the settings I took, and yeah, I just want to bring you along with me. Where I live, Hamilton, is called the city of waterfalls, and in any direction that you walk, maybe not every direction, but quite a few, there are waterfalls. Now, the parking lots, the parks, everything is closed. However, there is one not too far from me that I can walk to, and there's a viewing platform right from the sidewalk. So that was my destination. I gathered up all of my stuff and this was it. This was all of my stuff. My Sony A992 camera with my 70-300G lens. This is not, there's upgraded versions of this lens. I got this one secondhand, and I went with the 70-300 for a couple of reasons. The first one was, as I'm walking, I am just walking along the sidewalk, and I don't want people thinking that I'm just passing residential houses, right? I don't want people thinking that I'm taking pictures of them or of their own private property. And they can easily think that because I'm along the sidewalk and maybe there's some flowers by the side or a squirrel runs by. I don't want them to think that, I'm like, oh, look, squirrel. And they're like, why is that person aiming their camera at our window? So the 70-300 would allow me to maybe get a subject that was in the distance. So a squirrel on a power line, or, a bird in a tree or on the grass. And it would help me to not have to go up really close. Speaking of a bird just landed right there saying, "Oh, did I hear you want to capture my picture?" So I did that. Now, I also have this lens hood for this camera. And normally, in normal circumstances, I'll show it to you here. So in normal circumstances, I would definitely be using the lens hood because if it's a sunny day or the light is changing, then the lens hood helps me to avoid unwanted light flares. However, as you can see with this lens hood on, the camera looks quite big. And so I thought with the lens hood, it adds a good few inches here. With the lens hood, it might increase the likelihood that somebody would be thinking that I'm photographing them or their household. So I left it off and I went for my walk. And I just had this around my neck with my Peak Design neck strap, and that was it. Just simple. I had my my step counter going and my camera. And I saw some wonderful things. Yes. John keeps peeking his head out. I think he wants to say hello. Nope. In Canada right now, it is not consistently warm yet. Spring has started, but it has not actually sprung. So we have some daffodils in our gardens. We have some other beautiful flowers. You can hear the winds. This is a very windy time of year for us. It's making the fence posts creak and trees blow. And it's one day it's warm and the next day it's very, very cold. So this day that I went for a walk was very, very windy, and the wind is what made it cold. I have my phone here because I want to share with you the settings that I used for the photos that I captured. It was, oh, so beautiful. I really fell in love with some of the flowers that were planted along the walk and some of the wildflowers that just showed up. There were a couple of dandelions, nothing yet really, but one of my favorites was just so soft and beautiful, and just, oh, the lighting was perfect. The wind was blowing the flower quite a bit. And so in terms of settings, I really needed to be careful what I did. Let me show you the image. So this image was one of my favorites. I really loved the way that it turned out. In fact, I wasn't even sure how I wanted to finish the edit. I liked it 3 different ways: black and white, a sepia, and then a cross-processing tone. And it's just, what a gorgeous flower, so soft and so delicate. It was blowing in the wind. So I had a shutter speed of 1/1000th of a second. And that was really important because I was not right up close to the flower. In fact, with my 70-300 lens, I cannot be right up close to a flower. I can't focus unless I'm about a meter away. So I was at ISO 400, 1/1000th of a second, and I was zoomed in all the way at 300 millimeters, which made the speed of the shutter even more important. And f5.6, because I wanted the background to be soft, but I wanted the flower to still be in focus. So I wouldn't have gone down to f2.8, although with this lens I couldn't have. My lowest is f4, and in this situation, f5.6. So to combat the wind, the fact that I was farther away, and the fact that I didn't want to take the pictures really quickly, really slowly, like I didn't want to stop and set up because the flower was on the edge of someone's garden and it was right beside the sidewalk, but you know, it's not my garden, so I didn't want to make anyone uncomfortable or impose. So basically, as I'm walking by, I'm like, oh, that's beautiful, snap, and then I would keep walking. So that was my favorite image. And there are a bunch more. It's just such a beautiful, beautiful day and an awesome time to go for a walk. It was, awesome. Just, you know, if you can, go for a walk and bring your camera. Don't worry about anything else. Just focus on the beauty that you can see in front of you and you won't regret it. There was a beautiful, beautiful patch of daffodils, and behind this rustic iron, rusting wrought iron fence, and I loved these yellow daffodils. Now I had to focus stack this image, and the nice thing is that because it wasn't a really complicated image, and I just had one flower in focus with some leaves in front and then the wrought iron in front of that, I only had to take 2 images. One where I focused on the wrought iron and the other where I focused on the flower. And then when I put it into Lightroom and brought it into Photoshop, I was able to just run the general focus stack on the program, and it was excellent. I didn't really have to change too much. I might have fixed up an area or 2. But settings for this image, let me share with you. ISO 400 still. This time I went with f8 and 1/350th of a second, and I was still at 300 millimeters with the lens. Now the daffodils, besides the wrought iron, there were just patches of them, just bunches. And there were a couple that it was so nice. It was like these two daffodils, and they were right beside one another, and they almost looked like a couple, you know, like a married couple, a couple in love. And the way that the breeze was blowing them, they were interacting almost affectionately. I was able to capture the two daffodils almost with their heads tilted toward one another, looking down. And then another where the one was kind of more prominent and the other just behind. But the way they were interacting and the breeze blowing them and so on, it was just, I loved it. And I love that the green and shadowed background was just, it was soft, and the sunlight was coming out, so some of it was lit up, and it was just beautiful. It's just perfect. So I think I snapped about 4 or 5 images as I walked by that part, and yeah, it was just, I love it. So again, ISO 400, f8 and 1/1500th of a second. It was really breezy, but I was very fortunate that at that moment the sun had come out. Normally, taking pictures of flowers, you think that in the shade or in a less contrasty situation like with the sun would be more favorable. But in this situation, I liked the light right on the daffodils and the shadows that were there. Now, I know that with my camera, I can recover a little bit of the high dynamic range, the shadows, I can bring them up. And I did do that a little bit in Lightroom and Photoshop. But one thing that helped me to take these images that were in the sun was, and I left this setting for the whole walk actually, was I had my exposure compensation down just 1 point, half a point actually. So what that does for me is, 1, it gives me a slightly higher shutter speed, and 2, if the lighting is changing quickly or if I'm walking by, it will help me to avoid overexposing the highlights. And so, yeah, I was able to capture these beautiful daffodils in love along my walk. Some other flowers too, and I just I love springtime for that, and right now is a perfect time because the flowers they're just kind of quietly dancing in the sunshine, in the light, in the shadow, and they haven't started to wilt yet. I put a sepia tone on this one because I just really liked the way that the monochrome brought the details into the petals. It still looks delicate, but the detail in it just shows how absolutely perfect the creation of this flower is. It's just incredible. I also did a wider version of it with color because it's just gorgeous. I mean, how can you not enjoy springtime color? And the settings for that one were the same, and here it is. The yellow daffodils also had friends nearby. They were the white ones, white and yellow daffodils. And I love capturing them just above all of the greenery of the plant surrounding it.
And your hot dog. Oops.
John brought me some lunch. Aw, thank you very much. Look. Wonderful. Sure, I'd love some ketchup. Just a little. Thank you. So the other daffodils, ISO 320 f5.6, 1/1000th of a second. I was also privileged to be visited by a few of our springtime wildlife friends around the neighborhood. There were robins, of course. I don't know, this year it has seemed like there have been robins all over the place.
She's got all of this, and I can cook. You're welcome.
You can cook. Look at this.
Right.
Oh, let me give you a close-up. Whoa. Nice, eh? Okay. Oh, it smells good. Oh yeah, I'm ready for that. So let me show you the animals while I start to eat my lunch here, and then I will tell you how how I was able to capture them. Not good. He's calling me. I missed his phone call. Hey Siri, call John Lerch on speaker.
Calling John Lerch. iPhone on speaker.
Yes, hello?
Yes?
You want another?
Do I want another hot dog?
Yes.
Yes, please.
Huh?
Yes, please.
Okay.
Thank you. Okay, I'm going to save this for a second. So I was able to capture these robins and these animals with the same settings that I had while I was walking with the flowers. They were moving quickly, but I was already set up to move quickly. So ISO 320 or 400, f5.6, and at this point with the robin, it was 1/500th of a second. But then when I was walking along, all of a sudden I saw this movement up in the tree. And so I looked, and there was this squirrel. He was gorgeous. And he was very quick, and he went from the tree to the electrical post and then across the electrical wire over the street. And so I had to be very quick. I was like, oh, look, snap, snap, snap. And I'm so impressed with my camera that I was able to get so much detail and to freeze the squirrel in his wanderings. And he was really quick. So the squirrel, again, was ISO 320. Now, because I was aiming up at the sky, it's a much brighter scene. And so I was able to get 1/3000th of a second there at 5.6. And the dynamic range was still good enough for me to have the cloud in the sky and the squirrel enough exposed to not lose any of the detail. So he was so cute, and I had no idea that a power line had something wrapped around it, and that was really interesting. So I continued on my walk, and I really enjoyed getting some other flowers, and I finally made it to the waterfall, and I took a few pictures, but in this case, it was just really nice to actually switch over to movie mode and get some video of the waterfall as it's flowing right now. There wasn't a whole lot of water flow, but it's so beautiful. I don't know about you, but I just love the sound of water going over rocks. It's so peaceful and it's so lovely.
beneath the willow, the willow. So many years, too many tears on your pillow, on your pillow. Out of the darkness, a sound. It all seems so harmless. A silver light. Don't you wait until the morning light, the morning light. Far away until you're out of sight, you're out of sight. 'Cause you gotta let know while you can. Don't look back, don't forget. You gotta let know while you can. Don't look back, don't forget. You gotta let know while you can. Don't you wait until the morning light, the morning light. Far away until you're out of sight, you're out of sight. 'Cause you gotta let know while you can. Gotta let know while you can. Don't look back, don't forget. You gotta let know while you can. Don't look back, don't forget. You gotta let know while you can. Don't look back, don't forget. You gotta let know while you
can. It was so lovely. And now, now I'm going to eat my lunch. And thank you so much for coming along. And someone is opening the door again. Bye, guys. Thanks. So I'm going to start with this because it was my... Stop peeking. Was able to I'd like to be done anytime today. So I was able to capture the... Please, go away. Can I finish? I'm really trying to finish this video and they keep poking their heads out the door. So I was able to capture these robins and these animals with the same settings.